is this fragrance, Detour Noir, from the house of Haramain, the new Layton killer? I don't know, but we're about to find out. Let's get into it. What's going on, YouTube? I'm the Bowtie Fragrance Guy, the Fashion and Fragrance channel. If you're into both or either one, I don't care. Just subscribe to the channel. And don't forget, man, make sure you hit that bell icon as well. That way, anytime I upload new content on this channel, you get notified. So, guys, you see the title of today's video. We got another one for you, man. We've been kind of getting into this quite a bit here lately because so many fragrances of very popular niche and designer brands are having a clone or an inspired by a fragrance being produced on the market, it seems like now, every day. And the fragrance that I'm going to talk about today from the house of Parfums de Marly, which is Layton, is definitely no different. Layton has had his fair share of inspiration or inspiring other fragrances out there, and this is going to be the latest installment to the Layton inspiration sensation. I like the way I put that together. And once again, the fragrance that I'm referring to is from the house of Haramain, and it's called Detour Noir. So we're gonna get into it, man. How close is this to Layton? Can it replace Layton? You know, all those good things that we like to discuss. We're gonna go ahead and get into it. So I'm gonna go ahead and run the intro. When we come back, is this Detour Noir from the house of Haramain, the new Layton killer? We're gonna find out after I run the intro. Hope you guys stick around. We'll get into it. Be right back.
The Bowtie Fragrance Guy.
All right, guys, we're back. Thank you so much for keeping it locked in. Let's go ahead and jump into this video. Now, again, we have the original, of course, from Parfums de Marly, Layton, which was and is, I would say, still a very popular niche fragrance, right? If you look at a lot of lists here on YouTube, especially when it came out, and even still today, this is a fragrance that a lot of people hold in high regards, I myself being one of them, because it's just a very magnetic fragrance. It's one of those fragrances that just draws you in. It draws you in, it draws the people that come into contact with you in. It just smells great. Now, the thing about Layton that I think is so, or what's so noteworthy, or what it's known for is, especially in the opening of this fragrance, two notes. You're gonna pick up apple and a note of cardamom. Of course, juicy apple, you have some, it's supported by some mandarin notes, so they kind of serve as supporting notes in there to kind of give that a more juicy feel to the fragrance in the opening, the mandarin orange and the bergamot. And you also are going to get some lavender here, a little bit of a clean, kind of fresh lavender note that keeps that fragrance fresh in the opening. But that apple cardamom combination is really what this fragrance is known for in the opening of the fragrance. So now we get to the fragrance that I'm referring to today, of course, Detour Noir. Now, this fragrance, when it opens up, I love the opening, but the opening isn't that reminiscent to Layton. What I get with this fragrance, but I love it, is a almond jasmine combination with some very dry woods. I'm not really sure where that's coming from. In the opening, it could be the cypress that's coming off like that, but I really, really enjoy it. Again, when I first smelled it, I was like, wow, there's this very nutty kind of nuance to the fragrance when it opens up. And that was coming from the almond. That was before I even looked up what notes were in it. And I'm wearing it on this hand, and it smells great. It smells great, but honestly, that first 10 minutes or so is not that reminiscent of Layton. So now there's other notes in the dry down that are exact, the exact notes that you're gonna find in Layton. So after about 5 minutes, some of those notes start to kind of come to the forefront a little bit. The mid notes start to come into play, and you're gonna start to pick up those elements that are reminiscent of Layton, but it takes a couple minutes for you to get there. So I love the opening of Detour Noir, but it's just, if you're going to compare it to Layton, it's not that similar to Layton within that first 5, maybe first 10 minutes of the opening. Now, after about that first 10 minutes or so, these fragrances start to smell a lot more alike. They start to become very, very similar the more the fragrance dries down. And so I get it. I get why people would compare this fragrance to Layton, because, you know, on the dry down, they smell really, really similar. I think overall we'll give this probably about that 85% similarity, Detour Noir to Layton. Because again, the dry down, man, you start to get some very familiar elements. Now with Layton, it starts to become more floral. You get some geranium in here. I think there's some violet in here, and you get some jasmine as well. Now remember, this did have jasmine in the opening, and that jasmine does kind of stick around. It's listed as a top note, but it definitely plays into the heart of the fragrance as well. So again, both of them start to be more floral, woody, and sweet. Now there's some notes that are similar between both fragrances. You get vanilla in both, you get cardamom in both, you get sandalwood in both of these fragrances as well. So again, they really start to resemble one another the more that the fragrance dries down. On the dry down of Detour Noir, I would say that it's probably about more of a 90-92% similarity to Layton. It's just that the opening of the fragrance again is different. You know what I mean? It's not bad. It's just, if I'm comparing it to Layton, once again, it's different. Now another subtle difference between these two fragrances is, I think Layton is a little bit spicier fragrance of the two. There's definitely some spicy, peppery nuances to Layton that I don't get from Detour Noir. But again, I just want to be clear. I'm not saying that this is not a great fragrance, because I really love the way that this thing smells. But what we're doing in the video is just comparing apples to apples here. Let's get that. This don't have apple. Never mind. So ultimately, at the end of the day, again, while it's very similar, I would say that because the opening is different compared to Layton, that it's only at about that 80, maybe 85% similarity between the two fragrances. But I would say ultimately that this is a great alternative to Layton. Obviously, of course, one of the big reasons that a lot of folks look for an alternative, especially to a fragrance like Layton, is because obviously the price point. You may want to save, money. And this is one of those fragrances from Haramain. You can find it for around that $50 price point, I think. Probably around about $50, whereas Layton, full retail, you're looking at closer to that $300 price point. So the fact that it's not 100% similar wouldn't deter me. If I were looking for a great Layton alternative, I would definitely say that Detour Noir fits that description. Really quick, guys, before I close out the video, just to give you a little bit more information on Detour Noir. As far as performance, it performs pretty good. It's that about 6 hours is what I get from it as far as the overall performance. It projects pretty good, especially the first hour and a half. You're going to get a good foot or so of projection. That starts to sit closer to the skin at about the 2 hour mark, but it sticks around, like I said, in total for about 6 hours. So overall, definitely something that I think is good for you. I would recommend to you if you're looking for a great alternative to Parfums de Marly Layton. I actually really like this one because although it's not 100% a clone of Layton, I like that about it. And the differences in the fragrance I actually do enjoy. The almond heliotrope combination of this is really what the difference is when you compare it to Layton. I really like the nuance or the addition to the scent DNA, minus the peppery nuances and some of the citruses that those two notes provide to the Layton DNA. So overall, it's a really good pickup, especially if you can find it for under $60. But that's it, guys. That's my time. I hope you enjoyed this video today. As always, I sincerely appreciate your time and your attention to these videos. You don't have to watch, but you do, and I sincerely appreciate that. Then don't forget to make sure you take a few moments to go ahead and like, comment, and subscribe. And make sure you're sharing these videos out to some other folks out there that you think could use this information or find it entertaining. Because I'm your main man, Darren. I'm the Bow Tie Fragrance Guy. I love to look good, of course. I love to smell amazing. So until next time, guys, keep looking good, keep smelling even better. I'll catch you on the flip side.